Hi, thank you for joining us on this webinar. My name is Brannon Poe. I'm the founder of Poe Group Advisors. We are a accounting practice brokerage firm operating in the U.S. and Canada. A little bit about me, my career. I am a CPA. I started with Ernst & Young, and I went on to work for a mid-sized firm and began selling practices in 2003. So this webinar is great if you're thinking about purchasing a practice. If you're ready to get out and be on your own, I think buyers that we work with tend to be fairly entrepreneurial. We also have some existing firms that buy for strategic reasons to get into a new market. But basically, if you're wanting to learn more about the purchase process, about financing and where to find quality practices, then this is a great webinar for you to participate in. So, by doing what you're doing today, by being here, you're investing in your career and in yourself, and that tends to be the type of person that wants to buy their own practice. It's an investment in your career. I had a mentor tell me once that, to go out and find opportunities, you got to constantly turn over stones and find different things. And so hopefully this will help you learn how to turn over stones more effectively. So one thing is just envisioning yourself in a practice. If you were to purchase and imagine yourself out a couple of years, what does your schedule look like? How much professional growth will you experience? And I can tell you from experience as a business owner, you get tremendous growth just from having that experience. You also have that freedom. I think freedom is the driving force. You have freedom of income, freedom of your time. You get to choose your schedule. It's not to say that you won't work hard, but it's your own choosing. So this is one of the first things you have to decide is how do you find the right practice. Not every practice is going to fit every buyer and vice versa. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you hone in on the right one for you. So a couple of the key things that you want to look at first is the size. How big of a practice do you think you can handle? And that's going to depend on how much management experience you've got. If you've got experience managing staff, that can help you get a little bit larger practice. How much initial capital you have is going to help with that decision. Also location, relocating. I do see a lot of buyers relocate. It's something that does happen, but I've also seen people back out because of location once they put some time into looking at practice. And so that's something you really want to figure out up front are you really willing to relocate, and is your family willing to relocate as well? Also, you want to look at just the fit of how you match up with the current owner in terms of professional experience, philosophy on client service, things such as that. You also want to look at the clients of the practice and make sure that you're getting the type of work and the type of clients that you're used to serving. And then the mix, there are some firms that have no audit, some have a lot of audit. That's just one example. So you want to make sure that the type of work being done is suitable. And all of these are fairly common sense, but that's just the first thing you want to look at when you start spending time looking at opportunities. So everybody's curious about practice value. It's a very interesting topic, and it's determined by the market, and market is basically supply and demand. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind. So here are the top factors that affect the value of a practice. And as I mentioned, you want to think in terms of the market, of the demand, how much demand. Location, for example, if you're in a larger metropolitan area, demand tends to be pretty high, so the multiples tend to be higher. So from our experience, I would say the lion's share of practices sell in the range of 0.9 to 1.3 times gross annual fees. The size of the practice also somewhat impacts the multiple. Reputation of the firm, profitability, of course. The more profitable it is, the more desirable it is. terms, how you pay for the practice. If there's a significant amount of seller financing, for example, you might have to pay a little higher price versus if you're going to bring all cash to the table. Other things that impact the price are just the shape of the equipment, the curb appeal, the presentation of the office. Yeah, the bottom line, what is your investment? What do you need to have? What do you need to bring to the table in order to close on a practice? And this is good news for many because it's less than a lot of people think it is. So we'll talk about that in more detail here. Minimum investment, in terms of down payment, there's some pretty generous financing for CPA firms. And often you can get in for a 10% down payment. And you just have to factor in your own working capital needs. We actually have for our clients, we have a spreadsheet that you can help you with the monthly cash flow projections. That's something that you definitely want to look at when you're seriously evaluating something, is how much working capital you're going to need in that first year, and do that on a monthly basis. Transition, how do you maximize the value of the practice to you once you take over? Something that I think people don't, transition is often misunderstood. It's one of the most misunderstood areas of our practice, and it may help you shed a little bit of light on that topic. First of all, let's talk about the deal as a whole. What are the key elements of a successful deal? And going through the process in a clear fashion is definitely helpful. Help you that that you're making a good decision for you. You're paying a fair market value, and that the seller is happy with the deal. You do want the seller to be happy with the deal, and the reason may be self-evident, but you're looking for them to hand those clients off to you and those staff members, and you want them to feel good about what they're doing and good about what they're receiving for the practice. It really does help with the transition. Okay, so our process is called the seamless succession, and from the buyer's perspective, I want to touch on a few points on what we do to help buyers with the process. First of all, we want to help you choose the right practice, as I have mentioned, and this is, we don't want to force the wrong people into the wrong practices. We want everybody to be successful. We can also provide that buffer for information gathering. We do a lot on the front end to help get information before you ever see an opportunity. We're also making sure that the sellers are really committed to selling. I've talked to a lot of buyers that have done some searching on their own, and it's sometimes hard to tell if the seller is serious about selling or not. That's frustrating when they're not. We can also help simplify just the contract and negotiation process. We have templates and a process that our clients can go through to help with that. And we have financing sources that our clients that we can put in touch with. And it really does help to work with an experienced lender who's got experience, particularly in accounting practice acquisition loans. It's frustrating when you have a lender that initially says they can, finance an acquisition, but late in the game you find out that they didn't consider something that was important, and you go down that road a long way and have the bank not cooperate is frustrating. We also provide experience-based transition guidance for all of our clients prior to the closing, which I'll go into a little more detail about that momentarily. So here's a testimonial from a past client. He only had a handful of losses. Most of our clients have very good retention rates. You will lose clients that the seller would have lost anyway, and people moving and selling and that sort of thing. There's no way to prevent that natural attrition. But Stan liked all of our articles and just general advice during the process. And if you haven't checked out our articles, we have a great blog at PoeGroupAdvisors.com/blog, and encourage you to go and check out what we have there. Okay, so onto the transition. What I mentioned is that we do help with that planning piece, and prior to closing with our clients, we do a coaching call with the seller involved, and we talk about how you make the announcement to clients, how you make the announcement to staff, and what you need to be focusing on those first couple of weeks and really that first year. It's important to come into your new practice with a very clear plan, so you know what you need to do, and it's just a matter of execution. And having a plan is really important that first year, because it's easy to get overwhelmed if you're not really prepared for what's to come. It's running that first tax season, you want to be well prepared and ready for the volume of work, and the there's a learning curve that first year for sure. So we'd love to work with you and help you find the right practice. And all you need to do in order to get on our list is to complete our buyer registration, which includes what state or province that you're interested in, a little bit about your experience, and if you're looking at particular listings on our site, please put that listing number in there. If you don't have a particular listing number, that's okay. We can just notify you in general as to which state, when opportunities come up in your state, we can email you a notification of that. So anyway, thank you for participating on this webinar, and we look forward to working with you in the near future.